Sadly, I'm forced to make another racing vlog, and it's not that I don't enjoy making these racing vlogs, but when it's something like this, I don't. Mr. STP, Andy Granatilli, has passed away at the age of 90. Andy Granatilli made his mark in IndyCar racing with the Novice, and in the late 60s come with something called a turbine. Parnelli Jones come within 3 laps of winning in 1967, leading handily before a part broke on the car reported to be a $6 part in a radical turbine-powered Indy car. The next year, Joe Leonard came within 10 laps of winning in a turbine-powered car, not as radical as Parnelli's, but still technologically advanced for the time. Ironically, Art Pollard, Joe Leonard's teammate, had the exact same problem at the same time, although running, when I checked the results, a couple of laps behind Joe Leonard. Then in 1969, Andy Granatilli got the sweet revenge. Mario Andretti, the Italian-born turned American citizen, won the race driving for Andy Granatilli in the STP car now. And Mario Andretti had a vicious crash early in the month, destroying his primary car and went to a year-old backup car. Not only was he was burned, and in fact, it's been widely reported, and I don't know if this is true, it very well may be, because Mario does have an identical twin named Aldo. They actually had Aldo sit in for some of the photos for Mario Andretti. Some of the stage publicity photos. Very well may be true. But what's not known about Andy Granatilli, by some people following NASCAR, in 1971 he made his first foray into NASCAR racing. In 1970, Ford and Chrysler, the two factories, then pulled out, all except for Chrysler still sponsoring the Petty Enterprises two-car team of Richard Petty in the Plymouth, Buddy Baker in the Dodge. Chrysler stayed in through 71, but in 71, Andy Granatilli took the STP brand and put on the Ray Nicholas Plymouth. Ray Nicholas was a Dodge factory owner before the pullout, driven by Fred Lorenzen on the comeback trail without a lot of success, to be honest with you. I think they did have one second place finish. But then in 1972 came what's widely reported as the longest sponsorship in racing. He signed on after Chrysler pulled out with Richard Petty, and for the first year, part of the first year anyway, Buddy Baker driving the Dodge, Richard in the Plymouth just like it was, although Richard did go to a Dodge part-time in the 72 season. And they had a successful season. Buddy Baker won a race, Richard Petty won some races and the championship that year, but lost the Daytona 500. 1973, successful and tragic at the same time. Richard Petty won the Daytona 500. He did not win the championship that year, losing out to Benny Parsons, when the championship, frankly, was based more on consistency than it is now. The wins did not mean as much as they do now with the chase and all. But Andy Granatilli's STP sponsored car, with Gordon Johncock driving, also won the Indy 500 that year. Probably the first time a sponsored one has won both races in the same year. More than likely. I can't think of another time, because in the days before this, most of the sponsors were in stock cars were not involved in Indy cars. A lot of times it was factory-backed cars. But here's the tragic part about Andy Granatilli. First off, early on, pole day in the month of May, former STP driver Art Pollard was killed in a practice crash. Now, if you're old enough to remember the 73 Indy race, it's considered probably the worst ever. First off, it was scheduled on Monday, Memorial Day. Back then they run it on Memorial Day. It rained out. Well, they tried for Tuesday, and they had that bad crash with Salt Walther, he's since passed away, but he did eventually recover and race again, including some NASCAR. Finally, on Wednesday, they were able to start the race, and between lap 50 and 60, Swede Savage, driving an STP car, crashed hard off turn 4. He lived till July 2nd and perished of his injuries, although it's been reported. I was just reading some stuff on Wikipedia on Swede Savage that it was from he contracted hepatitis from a tainted blood transfusion. This is off Wikipedia, so you can take it for what it's worth. And on top of that, this is what Andy Granatilli had to go through, and he still stayed in racing. While a safety truck was racing counter direction on pit road, that was back when the signboard men could come out to the edge of the track. They could go back and forth. He hit a crewman. I believe his last name was Turan. I would have to look it up. For one of the Gordon Johncock and Swede Savage's teammates. So it was just a terrible month. They canceled the victory dinner and so forth. I mean, it was reported on Wikipedia that Gordon Johncock and crew celebrated with hamburgers at Burger Chef. Now, a lot of you don't remember Burger Chef. I do, but I'm probably older than some of you. But I just want to say, and I've gone longer than I wanted to, but that's okay on this, with this subject. Rest in peace, Andy Granatilli. These are the vlogs I do not enjoy making when it's something like that. When I talk about something good that happens or what have you, I enjoy them, but these I don't. Rest in peace, Andy Granatilli.